Yo guys, I got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new top 10 here on the channel for the month of September of all things, which brings me to a very special announcement about the month of September and what it means for top 10s because I'm going to be giving you a double bill for top 10s every single week in September. That means we're going to have 10 top 10s throughout the entirety of September because, we have two per week and there are 5 weeks of the month, this month specifically, with how I've scheduled everything. So naturally, that means that whilst the top 10s aren't going to be uploaded on the same day, we're still going to have plenty of top 10s to make up for the ones that I've missed over the past month. And today's one is something really fun to talk about because I'm talking about the collectibles of Skylanders. One of the main reasons why we all love Skylanders. We love going out of our way to explore the levels and just be rewarded by the variety and the depth put into every single collectible that is just so neatly tucked away in the levels. It's what adds to the level design, and it's just what adds to the satisfaction and the reward to the player for enjoying the game. So naturally, this list is based on, of course, how fun collectible is to find, how satisfying it feels to find, how much it contributes to the game overall, like adding to its tone or its depth or its detail or its world building. All of that fun stuff can go into making or breaking a collectible and making it either really, really exciting to find or just really boring, really dull, and ultimately leaving you disappointed. And as for collectibles themselves, we are not only including collectibles which contribute towards a level star in the games, but also just anything that has any sort of collectible aspect to it. Things which, maybe you win via mini games like the Sky Stones from Giants. Just anything which contributes to some sort of collection is classed as a collectible, except for, of course, physical Skylanders, which are collectibles in and of themselves. But we are talking about digital collectibles within the Skylanders games, and those characters right there are very much physical toys requiring a lot of physical money for me to dish out over the years, to say the least. So yes, that is why those guys do not count, and all of the digital ones do indeed. So without further ado, we're going to roll the intro and get straight into the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is going to be the Locotron wheels. Now whatever you do, do not zoom in on these things. They become so pixelated and low in resolution. That's just for good old Giants graphics for you. There's one reason and one reason alone why we need a HD collection for these games, and that's so these gosh darn Locotron wheels can look good when they're zoomed in upon. But moving on to what makes these collectibles so fun to, well, collect, is that they make the levels feel more expansive and reward exploration much more because you have even more collectibles to consider when going through a level. So Spice Adventure for levels were shorter and less packed, or less compacted to be more precise, and because of that there was less collectibles to go around. So with Giants, adding in that one additional collectible in the form of a Locotron wheel just gave you more to engage and invest in the level at hand. So it was really the fact that the Locotron created an additional collectible that made it better than the collectible itself, because really all what the collectible was good for was boosting stats. So whilst it's definitely fun to collect these, it's not as fun to utilize them. In fact, most of the time you forget you even had them, so you don't even plug them into the Locotron itself in order to gain the boosts that the Locotron wheels can create for you. So yes, definitely some very conflicting thoughts on this Locotron wheel-based system. So that's what puts it at number 10, mind you. But moving on to number 9, we have treasure chests. Now, there's nothing more satisfying than finding a treasure chest and then mashing a button to open it on up. It feels rewarding to watch it just crack open and all of the gold comes splurted out to help you with your upgrades and all. Of course, that's all what a treasure chest is good for, so it's not the most rewarding to find them because all you're doing is collecting treasure from it. But again, because they wind up being such a big boost in terms of your upgrades, it still has some semblance of reward and worth going out of your way to collect. And once again, it adds to that explorative element of Skylanders. You want to explore these levels more because you want to find these collectibles, and naturally you just have more incentive to find these than the Locotron wheels, because upgrades are one of the most useful, most fun things to do in Skylanders. So naturally, for treasure chests being such a great tool towards that is what makes them so iconic to the franchise. And on top of that, the treasure chests have such an impact on the games that they even created merch oriented around the treasure chest itself. They created magic items oriented around it. And so naturally, you've made yourself a great collectible when you can create an entire carry case around it and still sell it off as unique Skylanders merch, mind you. That is just for showcase of successful collectibles right there. And what makes the treasure chest even more collectible is not only the fact that you get additional stars for collecting each one in every single level, but the fact that they're so iconic in their imagery. So what I mean by this is we associate the treasure chests of Skylanders with good things. We associate them with wealth and power, because we can use this wealth to garner more power and more upgrades, as I've been alluding to this entire time. And yet they can still take this topic, this theme, this imagery, and flip it on its head, create an entire villain and trap team known as Chomp Chest around it, so it can kind of twist you, take you off your guard, and shock you as you, of course, approach a treasure chest, which is normally known to be quite rewarding, and then all of a sudden it starts pouncing, trying to chomp you to death. So naturally, for subversion of the treasure chest and what it stands for, is what shows off such great design and imagery when it comes to the work behind the treasure chests. But moving on to number 8, we have the Winged Sapphire. Now, what's even better than earning money for upgrades is earning discounts for upgrades. So now you can combine your Winged Sapphires with your treasure chests to, of course, acquire the same amount of gold, but spend even less on it on upgrades and items from the store. I'm sorry, I keep getting lost for words right here. But yeah, very, very useful item that you find yourself constantly loathing, because there's nothing better than a good discount on your upgrades. So naturally, because you're really long in these collectibles, you really want to go out of your way to find them, and whenever you do, it feels so rewarding for it. And that's what makes Winged Sapphire such a satisfying collectible, and it's so glorious to, of course, find them all and gain that precious tick in your collectible slot for the levels. But moving on to number 7, we have trinkets from Skylanders Trap Team. Now, these aren't as satisfying to find because they're in very obvious places, and they're not even in the levels themselves, they're in the academy instead. So naturally, because you're getting no sort of progress towards 100% because of it, you're not as getting any additional adventure stars or anything from the levels, so naturally that can make them feel less rewarding because of a lack of progression that you feel whenever you collect them. But it's still so satisfying to place them onto one of your Skylanders to create a very comedic combination with a hat of all things. Sorry, I just dropped my bushwhack right there. But speaking of bushwhack, because he's a trap master from Trap Team, you can place a goofy hat on him and a goofy trinket to just add to the comedic effect of both in combination with one another. So it exemplifies the effect of a hat in terms of the comedic value, and there's also a stat bonus on top of that. So that alone is incentive enough to collect these things, even if they don't have anything towards your progression throughout the game and anything towards your completion rates, mind you. But number 6 is going to be Sky Stones. I really enjoy collecting the Sky Stones, especially in Giants, because you get awesome artwork with every piece you find. For the fact that they are based on enemies and they give you a really nice art card to go alongside the blades is really, really cool. And with the fact that each card is unique and has a different strategy behind it with a different number of blades, like here you can see how we have a Conkertron with 4 blades on each side, so that makes it incredibly overpowered and really incentivizes you to pick it up on the final level of Giants from Auric. But you also have a Shadow Duke right there with 4 blades along the bottom, which means you really want to place it at the top middle after, your opponent's already placed some of his stones, so that then your stone isn't taken, but you can easily take the one below it. So again, each Skystone having a different strategy behind it is what makes them ultimately so rewarding to pick up, and once again, for artwork, just makes them feel like a collection. When you collect every last one of them and you can flick through your collection and find out the names of these enemies and look at their amazing artwork, it just truly fully invests you in the world and makes you so happy that you've gone out of your way to collect these Skystones, even if, once again, just like the trinkets, the problem lies in the lack of progression, because you don't earn any level stars for this and you don't earn any progression towards 100% either. But still, the fact that they are so satisfied and that you want to collect them anyway is just proof of how fun they are to collect all the same, and that's what's so important going into this list, if therefore giving Skystones for number 6 spot on said list. But moving on to number 5, we have Story Scrolls. Now, what's so great about Story Scrolls is that you can just sit back, you can relax, and you can listen to a story or a joke, and either way it elicits a response, because you're either laughing at it or you're learning something new about the lore. And so the fact that this can give you an extra layer of investment and immersion in the world as you read about additional lore or just really interesting stories to help flesh out the world a lot more and add more detail to it is ultimately what makes Story Scrolls very satisfying to pick up. And as a diehard Skylanders fan of myself, I want to pick them up. I'm incentivized so that then I can learn all of this additional lore. And on top of that, they are important towards your 100% completion of the games, because they contribute towards collection stars throughout the levels. So naturally, you feel more incentivized to pick them up for the progression as well. So that automatically makes them better than the last couple of collectibles we've looked at on the list. So yeah, Story Scrolls, the main problem with them really is for lack of interactivity, because you're just casually listening to them. There isn't anything further than being able to listen to them that you can do with them, so the lack of interactability can make them quite boring at times, and when you get a boring story or a joke that just doesn't land, it can feel very underwhelming and like a waste of your time, in other words. So the Story Scrolls can very much be hit or miss in terms of their content and whether they're worth collecting or not. But moving on to number 4, we have hats, which have the same, of course, interactivity as a trinket, you could say, because you put them on your Skylander to create from a greater comedic effect, as they look really goofy and really unfitting and really contrasting of your Skylander's design most of the time. And yet, because that comedic effect, you want to wear them just to have a good laugh and a giggle, so you can look at your Skylander and be like, haha, look at the silly hat he's wearing. You don't realise how much you miss them until you lose them entirely from Imaginators. Like, taking them entirely out of that game was so disappointing. I can't look at a sensei with a comedic, goofy hat on top of them. They're far too serious, and that takes away from the entire tone of the game. So the fact that these hats can create this tonal consistency is really, really cool, and you want to go out of your way to pick them up, not only for comedic value that they bring, but also for stat bonus, which is a cherry on top of a cake, you could say. So you have all of these awesome designs for hats that are all creative and unique and distinctive for one another that makes you want to collect them, so you can find the goofiest one and put it on your Skylander and laugh at it. But you don't only get all of that, but you also get, ticks towards your completion rates, because they contribute towards level stars in the collections tabs, and on top of all of that still, you get the stat bonus. Yeah, I have very few nitpicks when it comes to hats, and the best thing is collecting them all, especially in Giants, and then getting to see all of the contrast and colours from the outlines. Like, seriously, look at how colourful the screenshot is. It's so satisfying to just flick through and see all of these hats filled in, mind you. That might just be, your OCD speaking when you want to see them all filled in. But there's just something really satisfying about seeing a rainbow of colours about it. Once again, it maintains that tone that Skylanders is known for, that cartoony, colourful, comedic-based tone. It's the fact that hats fit into it so perfectly is what gives it the 4th spot, just shy of a medal. But speaking of medals, at the receiving bronze medal even, we have bonus mission maps. Now, whilst you can't see the collectible itself right here, you can see what the collectible unlocks, and that is a bonus mission. So this is additional content, and let me tell you this much, the bonus mission maps are all unique and very well designed, so that they are all fun, fast-paced, and worth playing. And because of all of those in combination with one another, you want to collect these bonus mission maps because you can't go wrong with additional content. These are completely free so long as you find them within the levels. So why would you not want to find them in the levels if you want to play the game more because you're enjoying it so much? Then you're incentivized to go back to previous levels, find these bonus missions, and complete them because they're all so distinctive and so much fun to carry out. Like here, we have a sand monster that's launching fireballs at you, and in order to stun it, you need to play a flute. That contrasts highly from a mission where you need to explore a wide open area to find eggs and bring them back to a mother's basket. It's really the uniqueness that makes all, and the distinctiveness even, of each of these bonus mission maps that make them worth picking up. And because of your constant incentive to find them in the levels is just what makes them such a compelling collectible all the same. And you can't go wrong with additional content. But moving on to number 2, receiving our silver medal is the soul gem. So it's kind of circled in this image what the soul gem looks like. It has a glow and an aura to it to emphasize its importance. So it has that symbolic nature behind it. But on top of that, soul gems just unlock such awesome abilities. Sure, whenever you get one, you have the option to play a preview for a Skylander, which is basically an in-game ad. You know, you play for trailer and then you start begging your parents for the character at hand. But that's part of the business model of Skylanders and what has contributed to its success. But on top of that, just collecting a soul gem and knowing that you have an awesome ability unlocked for a Skylander that you can either buy later down the line, or once you've bought the Skylander, you need to go to the level and find that soul gem. Either way, it just makes it more satisfying to earn that final upgrade for a Skylander, because there's one thing just buying the upgrade, but it's another thing earning this upgrade altogether, and because of that, it just makes the soul gem abilities for Skylanders all more satisfying to use. And on top of that, a lot of them are either ironic or really visually pleasing or just really destructive. You know, Bushwhack and Chopper, for example, from Trap Team are just two of those great examples. You know, the irony and the visualization of Bushwhack chopping down a tree. Funny how I go back to Bushwhack because he's one I dropped earlier in the video if you heard that in the background. But then Chopper, you know, he has his dynamite where he just launches like 6 million missiles, and it's so destructive, fun to watch. And even better yet, you as the player are aware that you are creating this chaos and this destruction, and that's what makes it so satisfying, knowing that you are the one pressing the trigger to make it happen. But that brings us quite nicely onto our gold medal receiver for number 1 greatest collectible in Skylanders history. Has to go to the legendary treasures. When it comes to legendary treasures, in each game they do something different. So we can see a screenshot of Spyro's Adventure here with Spyro trying his hardest to hide behind the little piggy bank, and it's just not working out for him. But the fact that this is a piggy bank, which you see of all things, is just so cartoony. So once again, these legendary treasures are designed to complement the tone and the style of Skylanders and look like a cartoon, and because of that, it feels included as part of a world. They are colourful and they are really fun to collect and flick through in your collections tab. And in Spyro's Adventure, sure, all they give you is money, but that's still an incentive in and of itself because you want that great deal of money in order to acquire upgrades nice and easily, mind you. And legendary treasures are worth more and more as you go into later levels, so that also makes you want to find them more and more in the later levels where they're even harder to find, creating a great sense of difficulty progression and and increasing even the satisfaction level of finding them in the later levels because of the increased gold bonus you get per level. Like for bonus gold you earn per legendary treasure increases by 50 every level, so That's just really cool to see. It's whatever the level is times 50 is how much gold you earn from a legendary treasure. And again, it's just a really thought out, really detailed element of Skylanders Spyro's Adventure that just makes the game feel more fleshed out, more detailed, and more finalized. All thanks to the efforts of legendary treasures and their awesome design work, and the gold being once again cherry on top of the cake. And, you know, this isn't the only way to go around legendary treasure, because Giants does it completely differently. Giants allows for legendary treasures to customize your Dread Yacht, and then Swap Force gives you stat bonuses whenever you place them on pedestals. Then Trap Team allows you to explore the academy and place objects based on legendary treasures you found. Then Superchargers allows you to customize your academy freely by placing down these legendary treasures. And then Imaginators comes in with something entirely different. It allows you to create legendary frames so that then whenever you take a selfie of a particular battle class, it increases the stats of every member of that battle class in future. Overall, the fact that they twist for legendary treasures in unique ways, game in, game out, without fail, is just what makes them one of the most thought out, most detailed elements of the entirety of Skylands. And so I love their, of course, inclusion in the Skylanders, and they basically have every single pro of everything leading up to this moment on the list. They still contribute towards your 100%, because in every single game, they contribute towards level stars, unless we're talking about superchargers here, but practically nothing you collect in superchargers counts towards 100%. But moving on from that, we're going to be concluding the video there. I sure hope you guys agreed with me about legendary treasures being the best collectible, and if not, you are wrong, because that's how opinions work. But all joking aside, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. But until that moment rises, peace!